Thank you for listening to this podcast from TRE, Talk Radio Europe, your voice in Spain and around the world. For more information, please visit tre.radio.
Ger Sweeney presents Live on Eire in association with emeraldconnection.net.
Live on Eire, presented by Ger Sweeney.
Yes, it is my turn again. How are you? Good evening and welcome. Nice to be with you. That's a little bit loud, Ger. Sorry about that. Yes, good evening and welcome. Thank you to Howard for the last hour. Thanks a million, Howard. Look forward to another Spain Today tomorrow between 6 and 7. It is Live on Eire on this Wednesday evening, the 6th of November. What have we got for you this evening on the programme? Well, Patricia is going to start a brand new series today. It's all about Irish people who were the first to do things. Really important things too. Yeah, some of them. Most of them, yeah. So we're going to be listening to Patricia's story on that brand new series. And that series is going to take us all the way to Christmas. Well, there'll be more on that over the coming weeks, alrighty? Now, who else do we have? This time last year, I spoke to David Keown, and David is basically travelling around the country lifting stones. For what? You'll find out. And I want to play it again for you because it's kind of appropriate to do so. And so you'll hear David's chat with me from last year. In the second hour of the programme, I've got plenty of news from and about Ireland. Yes, America as well. Yes, we'll mention America like everybody else has been doing all day. And in fairness, I must say I've been glued to it. I went to bed at about 11 o'clock last night and had the radio turned on until just after 1 o'clock. There was no point in having TV on at that stage because I had been watching it earlier and I knew that there wasn't going to be a whole lot happening. So I went off to sleep and I woke just after 1 o'clock, turned off the radio. And I then put on the telly and then I was kind of drifting in and out of consciousness, watching it, listening to that, watching it and falling asleep and then waking up and catching up with it until about 5 o'clock. And then I turned everything off and went to sleep for an hour. At 6 o'clock then I went back to the radio, to the Irish coverage, which began at 6 this morning, and was listening to that. And yeah, fun and games, huh? Fun and games. But anyway, there'll be a little bit about that. We've got some good music for you, some of it new, some of it old. And yeah, I'd better bring that to you as well. As always, if you would like to get in contact, you're more than welcome to do so. You can send a message on our WhatsApp machine to +34 645 99 67 95, or you can send an email to studio@tre.radio. I suppose really for us in Ireland, yes, it's the American story is big, but the Minister for Finance has warmly welcomed the passing of the finance bill which underpins Budget 2025. Jack Chambers, the Minister, said it was vital that the legislation was approved to ensure changes to income tax bands, reduction in the universal social charge, and new supports for business and enterprise. The finance bill passed all stages in the Dáil by a margin of 75 to 55 in what was a guillotine vote last night. Taoiseach Simon Harris had signalled earlier in the day that passing the bill was a key objective before calling a general election this week. It is still unclear whether he will opt to dissolve the Dáil on Thursday morning, tomorrow, or on Friday afternoon. If he does it this evening, I don't think he will, but if he does between now and 9 o'clock, I will bring it to you because I will get notification immediately. Leinster House is now on a firm election footing. It is just a question of when Simon Harris blows the final whistle on the 33rd Dáil. He could make the move in the Dáil chamber on Thursday, or he could wait until he returns from a meeting of EU leaders in Budapest around lunchtime on Friday. The Taoiseach said it is his expectation that there will be a general election campaign underway by the end of the week. Speaking on his way into the cabinet meeting yesterday morning, Mr. Harris said that he will seek dissolution of the Dáil once the finance bill is passed. check, and some other important pieces of legislation are dealt with. They're dealing with those this afternoon and this evening in Dáil Éireann. Mr. Harris added that he did not think that this will come as a surprise to anybody in the country. No, Simon, no. No surprise at all. We are still thinking that it is the 29th of November. So it will be 3 weeks from Friday. So what I've actually decided to do, I was sitting and thinking about this and consulting the various people that I consult in relation to the programme, and we strategized, and I decided what we're going to do is we're going to leave the innards of the campaign alone next week and the week after. All right, it's good enough to know that it's going to be called, and next week we'll confirm that it has been called, but we're going to leave it alone, because if there's anybody that interested in it hugely, they'll be catching up with the news on a daily and hourly basis themselves. And then my plan is to have maybe George join me on the 27th, which should be about 2 days before the election itself. And we might try and get Ben Sweeney in as well. We haven't had Ben in all this year. And if he can join us, we'll be able to explain why. So it would be nice to get Ben in, and myself and George and himself have a chat about what is coming up in relation to the election and what has been going on over the past week or two of the campaign. So there we have. That's the plan for the moment, all right? Now, Taoiseach Simon Harris has congratulated Donald Trump as he appears poised to clinch the US presidential election. Well, it's clinched. It's done. Yeah, absolutely. He and Taoiseach Micheál Martin have pledged to work to maintain and strengthen the historic links between Ireland and the US. In a statement, the Taoiseach said, "I congratulate President-elect Donald Trump on his victory in the US presidential election. Ireland and the United States have deep and historical bonds of people, and we will work to make these even stronger in the years ahead. The world faces many challenges and needs leadership to meet them. With the US and Ireland's shared commitment to democracy and international law, we can and will," he said, "tackle these challenges." Mr. Martin, Micheál Martin, said that regular high-level political engagement with the new US administration and on both sides of the aisle on Capitol Hill will be a high priority for the government. We look forward to working with him and his new administration in a constructive manner, and as we did during his previous administration, he said. This year marks 100 years of diplomatic relations between Ireland and the United States. Ireland's relationship with the States draws its strength from our deep historical people-to-people connections, the support of the US to peace on this island. Indeed, and as well as our significant and mutual beneficial economic relationship. As we prepare to engage with new US administration, we do so building on the strong legacy of the last 100 years. The high level of political bipartisan interest in Irish issues among US politicians and officials is and will continue to be invaluable. Regular high-level political engagement, both with the new US administration and on both sides of the Isle of Capitol Hill, will be a high priority, he said, for the government, as I mentioned earlier. No, that was what came from the Republic today. But a different scenario north of the border. There has been a mixed reaction, to say the least, to Mr. Trump's election by political leaders in Northern Ireland. SDLP leader Claire Hanna said that there is serious concern about what Mr. Trump's election will mean for the US. "My thoughts," she said, "today are largely with the people in the United States who are fearful about what this might mean for their future." Donald Trump has repeatedly shown himself as someone with little respect for most people or the high office that he once and again holds. It's very disheartening that his divisive brand of politics has been so widely endorsed, but we acknowledge the clarity of the election outcome. There is serious concern about what this means for the United States, Gaza, Ukraine, and indeed the world. In each, the most vulnerable will likely bear the brunt of the decisions the Trump administration will take, she said. Now, you think that's bad. Wait till you hear what the TUV, the Traditional Unionist Voice leader Jim Allister, said. He went on to say that he believes Mr. Trump had been the better candidate. It's for the American people to make their choice, and I do envy the fact that they are entitled to elect those who make their laws, unlike us, he said, in 300 areas where laws are made in a foreign parliament. Donald Trump was, he said, better than the alternative of Harris on the issues which impact Northern Ireland. I trust that the historic premise of the United States, no taxation without representation, is something which could give him something to think about when it comes to us. As a man who respects borders, when he comes to deal with the United Kingdom, I suspect he may be surprised we have a partitioning border down the middle of the UK, and that may dissipate the inclination to do trade deals. Ouch. So as you can hear, two very different types of comment coming from north and south of the border. Here's an interesting story, and I think I can remember the original story. The remains of a man have been exhumed from a grave at St. Patrick's Cemetery in Bandon in West Cork, a beautiful part of the world. Not the cemetery, obviously, but outside of it, as efforts are underway to identify him 25 years after his body was recovered from a river in Cork City. Members of the Garda Missing Persons Unit were present as the remains were removed from the grave this morning under the guidance of a forensic anthropologist. The remains were taken to the morgue at Cork University Hospital. DNA specimens will now be analysed by scientists at Forensic Science Ireland. Efforts to identify the remains failed when he was taken from the River Lee in Cork in 1999. At the time, the man's fingerprints could not be analysed as his body was badly decomposed. It's hoped that, given the advances in DNA, a match could be found for the man. The body of the man was found on the banks of the River Lee in Cork City in July of 1999. A Philip Mercier silver watch with a gold face was on his left wrist. Wooden rosary beads and 3 religious medals were also found on his person, as well as a medal on the shape in the shape of a horseshoe, which was written on that was the name McGinty, Macinty. Locals in Bandon tend to the grave of the unidentified man. Flowers and ornaments are often placed on it, and a headstone states, "Pray for the soul of a man whose name is known to God alone." Interred here on the 25th of October 1999. There's a plaque there as well, and that has the words, "Here lies some mother's son, interred 25th of October 1999. Rest in peace." An interesting story, and would be nice, wouldn't it, if they could identify who that man is, and maybe bring some closure to family members who may be looking for him for a very long time. PJ Curtis, I don't know what you know about this, but I'll be giving you a buzz the next day or so anyway. We'll have a chat. But the Fields of Athenry, Grace and Whiskey in the Jar are among the 6 Irish songs chosen for the first ever EU songbook, which has now been made available as an app. Yeah. A Creaston Shield, I'll Tell Me Ma and Song for Ireland are also included among 164 titles from across the European Union and compiled following a public vote. The EU Songbook is a Danish non-profit project which has no financial ties to the EU, and the song categories are decided by members of 17 music academies from 14 EU member states. Compiled over 9 years with the participation of Cork School of Music and Sing Ireland, the 6 Irish songs were voted for by 1,674 people under 5 separate categories. That'd be interesting. I'd be interested to listen to that. Download the app. So, what's it called? It's the EU Songbook. That's what it's called. Yeah, nice one. And finally, Knight's Choice claimed Lexus Melbourne Cup glory as the Kildare native Robbie Dolan partnered the 90-1 outsider to victory in the feature at Flemington. The Melbourne Cup. Dolan rode in Ireland apparently for a couple of seasons before moving to Australia, where he hit the headlines off the track after featuring on the TV series The Voice in 2022. I know there's been plenty of excitement, and his mum and dad surprised him by arriving in Australia before the race, and to be on top and to be on board a 90-1 outsider and to win. Absolutely fabulous. Congratulations to him. Great excitement in County Kildare, and I'm sure he'll be heading home to celebrate as well. Right, I've been yakking now for a little while, but sure, look, it is Talk Radio Europe, so let me play a little bit of music that I found for you today. Here's a brand new single from The Four of Us.
Lights are out, no one's sleeping, hearts are beating fast, time is of nails stretching 20 foot wide hangs around the neck of St. Gabriel's Drive. Behind the houses stacked like boxes, dug out in the fields with the hares and foxes, lying in wait for some kind of sign. Just another night on St. Gabriel's Drive. Sean, stay at home, you're too young. His brothers say before they run to join the fight, but he follows. And soon they're calling, come on, you can make it. Grab a stick or a stone, go on, take it. Come on with us. Come on with us. Come on with us. Concrete cracks, windows shattered, flares light up the dark, doors get battered as bottles and rocks rain down from the sky to greet the uninvited on St. Gabriel's Drive. Searchlights scan for troublemakers, trying to round up all the lawbreakers. Mothers pray that their sons survive. Just another night on St. Gabriel's Drive. Sean is hiding down an alleyway. His brother shout out, run this way, but he's too frightened to follow. They're calling to him, come on, you can make it. It's the only way out. Go on, take it. Come on with us. 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 Every which way he turns, he's hounded. The others have fled, but he's surrounded. He won't be making it home tonight or tomorrow. Come on with us. That's all she hears as an armored car takes her youngest away. Come on with us. Come on with us. Come on with us. Come on with us. Lights are out, no one's sleeping. Hearts are beating fast, time is creeping. Brothers plot as their mother cries. Just another night on St. Gabriel's Drive.
I like that. It's from the four of us. It's called St. Gabriel's Drive. And I found that a little earlier on and said, you know what? Wouldn't that be lovely to start the programme with? A nice little ditty. I am going to take a very quick break. Don't go anywhere, please. I will be back in about a minute and a half, or under 2 minutes anyway. So please don't go anywhere.
Live on Eire, presented by Ger Sweeney.
I'm just remembering a lesson that my mother tried to beat into us. She didn't, but she tried to instill in us. You know, when your ear gets itchy and you put your finger in as a child and you're trying to, and she used to always say to us, you shouldn't put anything smaller than your elbow into your ear. And I could never understand what it meant until many years later. And I have this habit of, I have glasses, reading glasses everywhere. I have them, I have my good glasses always in the studio or the office for the computer for that distance. But I have reading glasses here. I have reading glasses beside the bed. I have reading glasses beside the chair where I watch television. I have reading glasses in the dining room, and I have reading glasses in the kitchen. Hey, yeah, and I have them in the car, and I have them in a little rucksack I always bring with me wherever I'm going. So just in case I ever need to read anything, because you know the way we're always on our phones. So I have a habit, if my ear gets itchy, of putting the top of my glasses into my ear. And I was in Limerick recently, and my mother gave out to me again at 57 3/4 years of age. And she said, didn't I always tell you not to? Yeah, I said, ma'am, yeah, I know, yeah, my ear is itchy. But last Friday night, I was sitting watching telly. The fire was on. I was grand and comfy, and the ear got itchy. And I put my glasses into the ear, give it a little scratch. Didn't I hiccup? Ooh! And I hit something that you shouldn't hit with your glasses. No. So I didn't suffer. Thankfully, it wasn't painful. But I lost the hearing in the right ear for a few days Thankfully, it's back now and almost back to normal, and there was blood involved. So I'm telling you this to say to you that my mammy was right. I didn't tell her, no, I was in with her last night, but I didn't tell her that I did that because she'd be giving out to me. We never, no matter what age we are, we don't want our mothers giving out to us. So we don't know. We don't. So I'm just saying to you, be careful. Please don't be doing that. There is a viable case for developing a light rail system in Galway, and that's according to a new feasibility study. The study, which was carried out by the National Transport Authority, or the NTA, found that there was a strong demand for a light rail corridor from Knocknacarra in the west of the city to Roscommon in the east, with a potential longer-term onward connection to Parkmore via Ardlon. Now, the study estimated that the light rail, known locally as GLUAS, you see, the light rail system in Dublin is called Lewis, so you put the G in front of it for Galway, so you get GLUAS. Anyway, locally as GLUAS. After the Lewis light rail system in Dublin, which reduced car trips in the city by at least 10% and indicated that there could be an annual demand of about 7.5 million passengers. Wow. The cost of building the proposed project is estimated now at 1.23 billion to 1.34 billion euro. Of course, by the time it's done and it's built, that'll probably be 5 million, knowing the way things go in this country. The proposed route across the city would also pass via Eire Square in the city centre, close to Kent train station, and would also serve the University of Galway and University Hospital Galway. They're kind of close by each other anyway. The report said that under the right conditions, there is a strong potential for significant mode shift to public transport in the city. Authors of the study also indicated that the light rail system would be most effective if it was rolled out along with other substantial transport plans for Galway, including the cross-city link, bus connects and cycle connects, as well as with park and ride facilities. The report considered park and ride hubs at either end of the proposed route. Good thinking. Build it now, that if you are going to do it, build it in such a way is that it will be still relevant in 10 or 15 years after completion. Don't build it for the population that we have today, because that will be enhanced and will be bigger in 5 years' time, not to mention 15. The state is to buy Clanich Island, a 50-acre hotspot for wading birds located about 500 metres from the north shore of Lough Ree. The reason is to provide greater protection for a host of wading bird species breeding there, many of which are endangered. It is a haven for curlew, lapwing, oystercatcher, redshank, ringed plover and snipe, as well as various duck, gull and tern species, all of which nest and breed there. Now, the island is also an important migratory stopping point and wintering site for many other bird species, including golden plover, whimbrel, dunlin, turnstone and common sandpiper. Also, both black-tailed and bar-tailed godwit are consistently spotted feeding and roosting on the island. You'd know I'm not a bird watcher, wouldn't you? So the state is buying this island on a whim. They're not. No, they're not. Absolutely. It's to give the National Parks and Wildlife Services the chance possible of protecting what is probably Ireland's most special breeding ground for water birds and all the nature that it contains. Lough Ree is a designated special protection area and a special area of conservation. And a recent study or survey of 25 lakes all over Ireland identified Lough Ree as the most important and ecologically significant breeding ground for water birds in the country. That's fabulous. Absolutely brilliant. Here we go. News just in. Bang, doom, 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 doom. I told you I'd let you know if it came in, and here it is. Taoiseach has said that it was his hope a general election would take place on the 29th of November. Simon Harris told RTE 61 News that he intends to seek dissolution of the Dáil after returning from a visit to Budapest, Hungary on Friday, when he will call the election coalition. So there you have it. All right, that's the news. It has been confirmed. 29th of November. Simon Harris will be going to Oris and Uachtaráin on Friday. I hope his flight isn't delayed. That that will delay the president in Eire Uachtaráin, but the Dáil is going to be dissolved and the election will be underway. Brilliant news. Brilliant, because it's been flagged since last March or maybe February. Here's a sinister story, and one that you wonder, how do these things actually start to happen? 2 primary school children have been formally notified by Gardaí that they are under threat as part of a dangerous Dublin feud. The innocent minors were the subject of threats in recent weeks after an anonymous phone call was made to their school warning that they were to be targeted. The Irish Independent has now learned that they were served with a Garda information message known as a GIM or a GIM form in recent days. A GIM form is normally given to a person when Gardaí believe that there is a threat to their safety and decide to provide security advice. The 2 children, who were under the age of 12, are believed to be among the youngest people ever to be served with GIM forms. It's understood there is no suggestion of a specific attack being planned on the children, but that they were provided with security advice following threats against them late last month. The guards arrived at the house and served papers on the family, a source said. The community is already sickened by what's happening, what's happened recently, and it's worrying that Gardaí felt it was necessary to give an official warning to innocent children. It's unlikely that anyone would stoop so low as to target children, but there have been threats made against them. A primary school in the area decided to send all pupils home last month after 2 anonymous phone calls were made warning that 2 children were to be targeted and that the school would be burnt down. Gardaí believe it is linked to a bitter dispute in Dublin's south inner city between 2 groups which has seen a petrol bomb attack and a purported pipe bombing in recent months. As part of the same feud, Gardaí were called to a separate school last month after reports of a number of masked men arrived with weapons being spotted outside the school grounds. Local residents have also told of their concerns of the dispute escalating. Other crimes connected to the dispute include a petrol bomb attack in Drimna last July and a suspected pipe bomb being left outside a south inner city apartment the same week. It's understood that some people linked to the feud have also ties to the murder of Joshua Itzelli, who was 20 in Crumlin last May. Gardaí suspect Itzelli and his associates were on their way to carry out a pipe bomb attack when they were intercepted and he was accidentally shot dead by one of his own crew. The suspected target of that failed pipe bombing and one of Itzelli's associates are believed to be involved in the current dispute in the south inner city. In a statement, the Garda press office said it does not confirm or deny any matters relating to the security of any individual or entity. It's sad when you see things like that happening, isn't it? It does. Let's hope they can get their claws on them and bring this to a conclusion. Fiachna O'Brien, Tom Dunn and Alan O'Connor. No need to introduce who all 3 of those would be to you. They've got together and they've got a brand new single. Here it is.
Only meant to love you, don't you know it, babe? Why couldn't you be contented with the love I gave? I've given you my heart, girl, now you want my mind. Your love scares me to death, girl. It's the choking kind. You can kill a man with bullets, poison or a knife, but it hurts much more don't like the peaches, run past the tree. Find what you want and keep it, treat it sweet and kind. But let it breathe, don't let it be the choking kind. Let it breathe, don't let it be the choking kind.
Isn't that lovely? Fiachna O'Brennan, Tom Dunn and Alan O'Connor. Thank you very much. That's a new single from them, which is called The Choking Kind. All right, I'm going to do a very quick break, and after that, I'm going to introduce you to Patricia, and she'll give us a story. The first story in a brand new series.
Live on Eire, presented by Ger Sweeney.
Now, Patricia has been telling us stories for a very long time, and it's great to have the stories, and she puts them together into little series for us, and she's starting a brand new series this evening. So let's go straight to Patricia and find out what I know, because we have these recorded since August, early August we recorded these, and you're going to hear the entire series between now and Christmas on the programme, so you're in for a treat. Patricia.
Hello, Ger. Today I'm going to talk about someone you may never have heard of called Annie Moore. Now, when Annie Moore left her home in Cork on a cold winter's morning in December 1891 to go to America, she had no idea that years later there would be a bronze statue of her and her brothers, Philip and Anthony, outside the Cove Heritage Centre in Cork. But not only in Cork, there would also be another bronze statue of her and her brothers inside the Ellis Island Museum of Immigration in the US. Annie and her brothers were leaving Ireland to go to America to meet up with their parents, Matthew and Julia Moore, who had emigrated to America in 1890. The children had been left with an aunt in Ireland while their parents set about finding work and accommodation. When they had managed to do both and had settled, they sent for their children to come over. The children probably felt excited, as it was no doubt the first time they had ever been on a boat. The ship they were going to travel on was a steamship called the Nevada, and the journey would take 12 days. Now, there's some confusion as to whether Annie was 15 or 17. In fact, she actually appears on the list of passengers as being 13. Her parents had probably lied about the ages of their children in order to qualify for cheaper tickets. The ship arrived in New York Harbour on the 31st of December 1891. But the processing of passengers in the newly opened Federal Immigrant Inspection Station began the following day, on the 1st of January 1892. It was Annie who was the first immigrant to the United States to pass through the immigrant inspection at the new Ellis Island station. It must have come as a pleasant surprise to her when she was given a $10 coin to commemorate the day. She was probably amazed to have so much money given to her. In those days, immigrants did not need a passport or a visa or any other document to enter the country, but they did need to pass through the new immigrant inspection station on Ellis Island. The fact is, most people were admitted, except for those who were deemed to have mental or physical disabilities or moral defects. But tragedy struck only 5 years later in 1897 when the station was destroyed by fire. It wasn't until 3 years later that the second station opened in 1900. It had facilities for medical quarantines and the processing of immigrants. 24 years later, in Ellis Island, it was used mainly as a detention centre for immigrants. But where did Ellis Island get its name from? Well, Ellis Island was so called after Samuel Ellis, a Welshman who had bought the island in 1744. Upon his death in 1794, the island was first bequeathed to his daughter Catherine's as yet unborn son, but who sadly died only a few years after birth. The island then passed to his other daughters, Elizabeth and Rachel. The island remained in the Ellis family until Samuel Ryerson, one of Samuel Ellis's grandsons, signed part of the island over to John A. Berry in 1806, and the remainder of the island was later ceded to the United States in 1808. During both the First World War and the Second World War, the facilities were used by the US military to keep prisoners of war. Well, to get back to Annie Moore and her brothers, they were united with their parents and lived on 32 Monroe Street in Manhattan. Annie met and married Joseph Augustus Scheer, son of German Catholic immigrants who worked as a salesman at Manhattan's Fulton Fish Market. They had at least 11 children, but only 5 of them survived to adulthood. 3 of those had children whose descendants are today proud of their famous grandmother. Annie Moore died aged 50 on the 6th of December 1924 from heart failure at her apartment in Cherry Street. She was buried in an unmarked grave in Calvary Cemetery, Queens, in New York. No one would have heard any more about her if it wasn't for a professional genealogist, Megan Smolyak. She had heard that another woman named Annie Moore, who lived in Texas, had been known as the Annie Moore who had come from Ireland. In fact, that Annie Moore had been born in Illinois and so had not passed through Ellis Island. So it was thanks to Megan Smolyak and her work that the real Annie Moore, who had sailed from Cork and had passed through Ellis Island, was found. Megan Smolyak discovered the descendants of the real Annie Moore. They were delighted when Megan contacted them, and together they saw to it that the real Annie Moore's grave would be now marked by a Celtic cross made of limestone, which was shipped over from Ireland. There is a plaque stating her year of birth, April 24th, 1874, and her date of death, December the 6th, 1924. The deaths of 6 of her children who had died soon after their births are also included on the plaque. There is a statue of Annie Moore and her 2 brothers outside Cove Heritage Centre, which commemorates her port of departure, and there is a similar statue inside the Ellis Island National Museum of Immigration, which commemorates her port of arrival. Both were created by a famous Irish sculptor, Jan Reinhardt from Bantry. She was delighted when the President of Ireland, Mary Robinson, unveiled first her sculpture in Cove on the 9th of February 1993, and then later in May of the same year when the Irish President travelled to America to unveil the other sculpture. The statues represent the millions who passed in the shadow of the Statue of Liberty en route to Ellis Island in search of the American dream. Many famous people have also had to pass through Ellis Island. For example, in 1908, Bob Hope, who was born in England, had to pass through the controls on Ellis Island. His name was Leslie Towns Hope, before he changed it to simply Bob Hope. The US Congress declared him the first and only honorary veteran of the US Armed Forces entertaining military personnel. The famous songwriter Irving Berlin, who had been born in Russia as Israel Berlin, arrived on Ellis Island in 1893. He wrote 1,500 songs, which are still very popular today. For example, White Christmas, Easter Parade, God Bless America, There's No Business Like Show Business, etc., etc. The list is endless. Cary Grant arrived on Ellis Island in 1920. His original name at birth was Archibald Alexander Leach. But again, as an actor, he chose a different name and became known as Cary Grant. He became an American citizen in 1942. Annie Moore's life inspired Brendan Graham to write the song Isle of Hope, Isle of Tears after visiting Ellis Island. The song has been performed by many Irish singers. For example, Ronan Tynan, the Irish tenors, Sean Keane, Dolores Keane, Daniel O'Donnell, Celtic Thunder, Celtic Woman, Tommy Flanagan, and the High Kings. I'm sure Annie would never have imagined that her name would appear in a song, or indeed on a pub in New York, or on a National Park Service boat. Her descendants are proud of her and were proud to attend the unveiling ceremony. Among them was her great-great-great-great-grandson, Dylan Donovan Krause. He will not remember it, as he was only 9 months old at the time. But he will no doubt tell his children how Annie Moore left Ireland in 1891 and is immortalised both in Cove in Ireland and on Ellis Island in America.
On the first day of January 1892, they opened Ellis Island and they let the people through. And the first to cross the threshold of that Isle of Hope and Tears was Annie Moore from Ireland, who was only 15 years. Isle of Hope, Isle of Tears, Isle of Freedom, Isle of Fears, but it's not the isle you left behind. That Isle of Hunger, Isle of Pain, Isle you'll never see again, but the Isle of Home is always on your mind. In a little bag she carried all her past and history, and her dreams for the future in the land of liberty. And courage is the passport when your old world disappears, 'cause there's no future in the past when you're 15 years. Isle of Hope, Isle of Tears, Isle of Freedom, Isle of Fears, but it's not the isle you left behind. That Isle of Hunger, Isle of Pain, Isle you'll never see again, but the Isle of Home is always on your mind. When they closed down Ellis Island in 1945, 1943. 17 million people had come there for sanctuary. And in springtime when I came here and I stepped onto its piers, I thought of how it must have been when you were 15 years. Isle of hope, Isle of tears, Isle of freedom, Isle of fears. But it's not the isle you left behind. That Isle of hunger, Isle of pain, Isle you'll never see again. But the Isle of home is always on your mind. Isle of hope, Isle of tears, Isle of freedom, Isle of fears. But it's not the isle you left behind. That Isle of hunger, Isle of pain, Isle you'll never see again. But the Isle of home is always on your mind.
That's the song that Patricia was referring to in her story. It's Isle of Hope, Isle of Tears, and it was written by Brendan Graham and sung there by Sean Kane. There was a huge choice of artists that could have sung that song for us this evening, as you would have heard when Patricia was listing out some of the people that recorded it down through the years. But I chose Sean Kane because I don't know, when it comes to things like immigration and leaving things behind, Sean's voice just does that music and those words just so much justice. It's the lovely Connemara kind of a twist in how he sings, and when he talks he's got a magnificent speaking voice as well. I've interviewed Sean and chatted with him on air on a number of occasions and introduced him on stage a few times as well down through the years, and one of life's gentlemen, a genuinely nice fella. Sean Kane, Isle of Hope, Isle of Tears. Patricia, thank you very much indeed. The start of a brand new series, and it's all about the Irish people being the first to do certain things, or the first Irish people to do things. And today it was the story of Eddie Moore. As I said, that was recorded back in August. In fact, the 13th of August was the day that we were with Patricia for a recording session, and a smashing visit as always. And I only know that because I keep a note of, the stories, and I put the date on it so that when I'm editing, as in just, tidying up the files, I kind of have a handle on what's coming next. But we have 7 stories in this particular series, and you'll hear them all between now and Christmas. And I'm very much looking forward to playing them for you, because there's some lovely stories in there as well. So there you go. I was going to say something there, wasn't I? I was, about the recording of it, and so long ago. Anyway, must have been a lie. I'll think about it again. I'll think of it again. I'll do a quick break now, and I'll be back to you in just a moment. So please, don't go anywhere.
Live on Eire, presented by Ger Sweeney.
Now, if I do this quickly, I'll be able to get one more song in before the news comes on. The government is promising to build 50,000 houses per year until the end of the decade. The new figures say just over 303,000 houses will be built between now and 2030. New housing targets have finally been agreed by the coalition on the eve of the general election. And we know now that it's going to be called on Friday, and it'll be on the 29th. Fianna Fáil was reluctant to publish the figures, but Fine Gael argued it was necessary to put context on the campaign. The housing targets set out what is a realistic figure to be built as agreed with the arms of the state, as opposed to a political party promise. The figures range from 40,000 up to 60,000 over the course of the timeframe. Agreeing to 303,000 being built between now and 2030, the targets start with 41,000 next year, going up to 43,000 in 2026 and 48 in the subsequent year. Then towards the end of the decade, 50,000 mark will be broken, with 53,000 houses in 2028, 58,000 the following year, and 60,000 in 2030. The government's existing Housing for All plan contains a target of 33,000 new units per year on average, up to and including 2030. This includes, on average, 10,000 social housing units, 4,000 homes for affordable purchase, 2,000 cost rental homes, and 17,000 private homes. A total of 32,695 new homes were completed last year, exceeding the 29,000 target set out in the government's housing plan. But Taoiseach Simon Harris has pledged that the government will build 250,000 houses over the next 5 years, was widely at odds with the coalition's current housing targets. But that's all right. I suppose it's appropriate to play this song, and it's by accident, genuinely, that I'm playing it now after following from that story. Here's the new single from Inhaler. It's a song called Your House, and it's their new one, and I like it.
Right around 6 or something, there I was, barefoot in the street. So, oh Lord, I'm gonna know where you will find me. Maybe I sold love for what it's worth on the street. Said, oh love, there ain't a sharp enough knife to cut me out of your life. I'm going to your house tonight. Let's go in the sky. See it try. Shining east of your face. Thought you aim at her gates. Though there's nothing to say, but
I like the music they produce. That is Inhaler. That's a song that's called Your House, bringing the first hour of the programme to a conclusion, heading for news. I'll only be gone for 2 minutes, but there'll be news there to entertain you, so please don't go anywhere. I won't be long.
Talk Radio Europe.
Your voice in Spain.
Live on Eire, presented by Ger Sweeney.
Now, and you're welcome to the second part of the programme. Well, it's the second hour of the programme. We have had 1, 2, 3 parts already, haven't we? Well, we've had 4 parts already. So it's into the 5th part of it that we go live on Eire. And in this hour, you're going to hear an interview that I did, or a chat that I had with a fella that basically spends his time lifting stones. It's not that he's nosy to see what's underneath them. It's a thing. Yeah, going back to the Celtic ages. David Keown is his name, and you will know him if you follow him on Instagram. You'll know him as Indiana Stones, and we'll find out about the ancient art of stone lifting when I chat with him. As we're heading into the election. All right. I did say to you in the first hour, the Irish election I'm talking about, or the general election, which we confirmed tonight, will be on the 29th of November. It's going to be called on Friday afternoon, when Taoiseach Simon Harris comes back from Budapest, where he's going to an EU summit, and he will then head to Áras an Uachtaráin. He will ask the president to dissolve the 33rd Dáil, and then the campaign will be off and running in earnest, even though it's been on for the last 3 months, if not longer. So that's all happening. So I'm not going to dwell too much on it over the next 2 weeks. So I thought, with all of that going on, that's really going to be the big news. I thought that we'd take an opportunity in the next couple of weeks to do something old and something new. We don't know about anything borrowed, but definitely nothing blue in there. So we'll have some stories that you would have heard previously. We'll have new stuff from Patricia, and for the next 2 weeks. And then on the 27th, we're thinking that we'll try and organise to have George Lee and maybe Ben Sweeney and maybe another. And we'll talk about the election, the 2-week campaign, because at that point we'll be less than 48 hours away from the opening of the polling stations, so that we can cast our vote, and we'll be able to kind of synopsize the campaign and maybe what was going on over the last 2 weeks. So that's the plan for the next couple of weeks. That suits you. I hope it does. The High Court has agreed to pause the effects of a Dublin airport passenger cap that was due to imminently affect airlines' access to takeoff and landing slots over the summer of next year. Aer Lingus, Ryanair and a consortium of American carriers brought an urgent application over the decision by the Irish Aviation Authority decision to limit passenger numbers to 25.2 million between late March and October. They claim that they will suffer significant harm because the cap would deprive them of some of their use them or lose them takeoff and landing slots. Basically, that's the story. If you don't use them, you lose them. The ruling comes just days before the slot coordinator allocates the airport's available summer slots to airlines. The slot distribution by the ACL, Airports Coordination Limited, would have been confined by the IAA's passenger cap. Mr. Justice Barry O'Donnell said that airlines would suffer immediate serious consequences if he refused to pause the operation and implementation of the IAA decision. The potential consequences of a potential breach of the plan conditions, which were highlighted by the airport's operator, Dublin Airport Authority, or the DAA, did not outweigh the highly probable and very serious adverse consequences. A full hearing of the airline's wider challenge to the IAA's decision has yet to be heard. In making its decision on the airport's capacity, the IAA said it considered technical, operational, environmental and local planning constraints, including on-board Planola's imposition of a separate annual 32 million passenger limit when it approved Terminal 2 in 2007. On-board Planola is the planning authority, or the appeals board for the planning authority. Now, the DAA has separately applied to the local planning authority, that's Fingal County Council, seeking an increase of the 32 million limit to 40 million. Central to the application for a pause to the summer 2025 cap was the airline's argument that they have a right under EU law to historic slots. The court heard last week that these slots work on a use them or lose them basis, meaning that 80% must be availed of in a season to secure them again for next year. The airlines argued some of their slots would be permanently lost if they cannot be used next year due to the IAA's cap. I suppose the adage that we have in Ireland, the story, the saying that we have, there's more than one way to skin a cat, is kind of very apt in this circumstance when the focus has been on the cap, the 32 million passenger cap, for the last 6 to 8 months, and a huge campaign underway since then to have it removed. Staying with aviation, I see good news because Emerald Airlines will continue to operate the government-funded PSO air service between Donegal and Dublin airports for an additional 1-year period up to 25th of February 2026. Now, the PSO contract, which provides twice daily two-way air services facilitating same-day return trips between Donegal and Dublin, was due to expire on February of 2025. Minister of State at the Department of Transport, James Lawless, said that he is aware of concerns that some, including the Donegal Cancer flights and services, have raised concerns about the potential impact of the passenger cap at Dublin Airport on the PSO air service. The minister said that he wanted to assure people and businesses that there will be no impact to passengers using this service under this important contract. Emerald Airlines was awarded the PSO contract 3 years ago following an EU public tendering process conducted by the Department of Transport in accordance with the requirements of EU Regulation 1008/2008. This specific regulation allows for the provision of PSO air services to isolated areas, those not adequately served by alternative transport services to administrative, business, education and medical centres. A total of 41,867 passengers travelled through Donegal Airport last year, compared to 36,934 in 2022. That represents a 13% increase in passenger numbers year on year. The head of commercial at Emerald Airlines, Ian Locke, said that they remain dedicated to serving the Donegal community and look forward to the continued success of this vital role. There we go. Good news, as I said, for people in Donegal particularly. If I'm not mistaken, Emerald Airlines is an offshoot of Aer Lingus, and I think they fly under the Shamrock. I'm almost certain, but I could be wrong. I've been known to be wrong. Do you remember that Tuesday?
The world is in an awful state, the days they seem so dark. When the years they keep on stealing all the catches of the spark, the sudden sun that warmed your room. When your life was full of stealth, show the new world in its bare belly as you lay there by yourself. The holiest of hollows and the hell that it would paint. Baggy Buddha in a wheelchair with the wisdom of a saint. It was Stephen's Day, the world found that Sir Peter Pan escaped, and this time it did take. Chestnut, are you still awake? Morning when you called, they were fresh-faced and full of grace. Morning when you called, they were fresh-faced and full of grace. Morning when you called, they were fresh-faced and full of grace. Was carrying Vic's passing to the glory of the spring. Single shot out of the sunshine, we had lost the stack of king. The shadow across the barn led to a cycle of self-harm for a psychedelic cowboy with a dusty pawn shop charm. The rosewood that transforms into a six-string mystery. Let it be the axe that counteracts and chops the gallow tree. Men tend to keep it to themselves, they take their whiskey straight. Once our thoughts have no brakes, link is, are you still awake? Morning when you called, they were fresh-faced and full of grace. Morning when you called, they were fresh-faced and full of grace. Faced and full of grace. Morning when you call. The value of the chant appreciates to the extent the poet of a generation couldn't afford a room to rent. See his ghost upon the corner, needs a neon sword and snake. In a thrift store army jacket and a short repacked slug takes to recreation, torn addiction. Did your rape become a slave? Did the love that lit your heart become its agent of decay? The solution, it was saline, but the punchline was opaque. Every hour was an ache. Bearman, are you still awake? Fresh-faced and full of grace. Morning when you call, they were fresh-faced glazed and full of grey.
I haven't played them on the programme before, but I'll be playing them again, so I will. The Lazarus Soul, and that's a song that's called Park Slope Takes. Nice one. Will I do the break now, and then will we go to... We will. That's what we'll do. We'll take the break now, and we'll go to Indiana Stones after that, and then we'll have a clear run then to the news. That's what we'll do. Alrighty, back in a mo.
Live on Eire, presented by Ger Sweeney.
David Keown is pure mad about stones. David, you're welcome to the programme, and thank you for joining me via Zoom. It's nice to see you, and it's nice to hear you. You lift stones.
Yes, stone lifting is a passion of mine. But it's not just, I suppose the physicality is always is a wonderful thing. You know, it's a very primal movement. To pick something up from the ground, I suppose, is the most functional movement you can do. But for me, it's the history of it, Ger, is the most important part of it.
Okay.
And I know it's very prevalent worldwide, and especially in Spain and in Iceland and in Scotland. And that's where I got my inspiration from. I was looking at the historical stone lifting in these cultures. You know, so they're culturally important pieces of stone, you know, pieces of the land that were lifted as rites of passage, or they were lifted as feats of strength, going back hundreds and hundreds, maybe even thousands of years. So I've been chasing that up in Ireland the past 2 years now, and it's been incredible.
Let's start at the start if we can, and we'll work our way towards where we are today. I was listening to you being interviewed on national radio a couple of days ago, and that's where I came across you and came across this idea of stone lifting, which I had never heard of before. And I was intrigued, yes. And I thought, I know a couple of people that listen to me on a Wednesday night, and they'd love to know all about this. So in that, you mentioned that we did this, we being the Irish or the Celts or whatever you want to call us, we did this as a pastime, and we did it to celebrate funerals, and we did it to celebrate weddings, as you say, rites of passage, all of that kind of stuff. So how far back does it go?
Some of the stones I found recently, I mean, the last two especially, I mean, they're going back pre-Christian. So you're going back pre-St. Patrick coming here in the 700s. So, I mean, they could be talking thousands and thousands of years, you know? And some of the stories that I'm reading them from, I mean, the likes of Liam O'Flaherty, the great essayist and writer, he wrote a couple of essays about stone lifting, and he's like, from time immemorial, it was lifted in the village as a rite of passage or a trial of strength. So this could be going back not just tens or hundreds of years, it could be going back thousands of years, you know.
How did we stop doing that then? When did we stop lifting stones?
Generally what I'm coming across is the 1840s, you know, the Gurta Moor, the Great Hunger, the Great Famine. That's when a lot of these stories stop. A lot of the times when I'm going to meet these people, it's older people, and they remember their great granddad or their grandfather lifting these stones, but the cut-off point was the 1840s, because you know you'd half the nation died or emigrated in that time, and a lot of the stories and the histories and the people, unfortunately, were with them. So yeah, that seems to be the cut-off point for it. Yeah,
that's not a very long time ago, and so it's amazing that something that kind of died out at that stage has kind of just been obliterated from the landscape, isn't it? Pardon the pun.
Isn't it incredible? I mean, like you said, it's not that long ago. You know, I mean, there's people in living memory who can remember lifting that. Well, almost. You know what I mean? Maybe in one generation removed. So, I mean, it's not that long ago. And for, like I said, for it to literally just fall out of memory, just be gone, be forgotten about.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's incredible. You know what I mean?
And even the people that would have emigrated to America, let's say, because that's where the vast majority of people went during the famine. Like, nobody in America that I'm aware of remembers this and talks about this, but they have other memories of Ireland that were carried through and traditions that were carried through. So it is kind of strange.
Well, you'd be surprised. There is a couple of, I was listening to some old references in Dukas, and there was people over in the States who remember these great feats of strength. Okay. But again, you know, it's just you've gone that far back. And there was like people lifting stones when they were building the likes of the great structures in New York and then all the way down the East Coast. Yeah. There was tests of strength in these areas. You know what I mean? Okay. So there is a couple of stories over there, but again, it just fell out of the national consciousness. But I mean, when you think what happened from the 1840s, you know what I mean? It's really only starting to come back in the last I suppose the last 5 years, there's kind of a whole wave of culture, Irish culture coming back, which is just fantastic to see.
Before we talk about it coming back, let me go back a little bit and just explain to people what stone lifting is about. It's not about going for a walk on the beach or in a local farm and picking up little stones that you might see along the way. You're talking about great, big, massive stones. What kind of weight are we talking, David?
Generally, I suppose the average in Ireland is around 170 kilo. So in old money, that's about 375 pounds or 3,500 weight. So that's the average weight. I mean, there is some obviously lighter than that, and there is some considerably heavier than that as well.
Okay.
So you're talking like very, very big, very heavy stones in Ireland, possibly the heaviest lifting stones en masse in the world, you know, so that surprised me as I was finding them over the past couple of years, that they're so heavy. It's incredible, you know, and how strong the people were, like just from their day-to-day work. I mean, these weren't people who had periodized strength training. These were people who were just doing this from their day-to-day work, and they were strong enough to pick up these massive, massive stones.
Now, tell me, because looking at your social media, and I love the moniker that you've given yourself, it's Indiana Stones, which is brilliant. But are there specific big stones on the island of Ireland and other places that people who lift stones lift, or is it a case of just finding a big stone and lifting it?
Oh no, it's not a lifting stone unless it was lifted back through history.
Right.
These are all stones that were noted from local folklorists. I mean, I've gone to the place, I've talked to the people, they remember their great-granddad or their granddad lifted it, or sometimes I've met the last man who lifted it himself, maybe 50, 60 years ago. But these were noted stones that were very, very important to the culture of these villages. And they all have their own stories and histories and genealogies attached to them. You know, they're not just some guy picks up a random one. It's these, all these stones have their own history. I'm
very fond of and very keen on history. And when I'm speaking to somebody about history, I always say, and did you touch it? And when you were touching it, did you appreciate, you know, the hundreds and thousands of years that went into it, or whatever the case might be? I'm going to ask you the same thing, because you have to get your arms around the stones and you have to kind of bring it into your chest and your heart, and your face is touching it, and you're cuddling it almost. What's it like?
Ger, it's impossible to describe, but it's incredible. I mean, like I said, you're touching history. You're not reading about it. You're not talking about it. You're putting your hands where somebody put their hands maybe 1,500 years ago. Oh. You know what I mean? You're doing what they done. You're testing yourself that they tested themselves. And there's something just incredibly beautiful about that. But I mean, not only are you testing yourselves against men and women, sometimes the mythology is attached to the stone. There's a stone up in County Mayo that was thrown by a giant called the Cloch an Dara, and the local legend was that this was thrown by a giant, and the local men in the area could they pick it up to see where they are strong as an Irish giant. You're touching mythology. There's a stone up that I've just literally, the last stone I found up in County Derry was meant to have been thrown by Fionn McCool. So that stone was thrown by the legend of Fionn McCool. It was a chieftain's coronation stone on the top of a hill, and it was a great feat of strength to pick that stone up. The stone's probably the heaviest lifting stone in Ireland, which means it's probably one of the heaviest lifting stones in the world. I put it in around 280 kilos.
Wow.
But it's a standing pillar stone that you just have to break the ground, get the wind under it, they call it, which is a beautiful poetic reference to getting the stone off the ground. So if you can get the wind under that stone, you're picking up a stone that has been touched by ancient high chieftains of Ireland and by Fionn McCool himself. I mean, how can you describe that? Just saying that you just get chills. I mean, it's you're touching history.
Does that give you an extra bit of strength? Does that get you, you know?
I'll tell you what, Ger, you hit the nail on the head, because that stone, like I went up with the film crew up to Derry, and I looked at that stone and was like, it's the size of a man. It's the size of a man, but made out of stone. It's massive. I mean, it's huge. And you're like, how can any man ever pick that up? It's so big. And I tried 3 times and I couldn't pick it up. But I swear to God, I got strength from somewhere, because I went back for the 4th time. And you think you'd be tired at that stage. Mm-hmm. But I went back for the 4th time, and that stone came up off the ground. And like I strength was someone from somewhere. You know, I didn't think I could do it. And then I did it. And it was just the most amazing feeling, you know.
How did you get into this, David?
I suppose it all started through COVID. I mean, like I've been into fitness and strength for a long time. I got to represent my country at a sport, and I'm very proud to say that. But then COVID struck, and I had no access to a gym. So like, going to the gym is a part of my life. And because of like the stringent lockdowns in Ireland, that was taken away. So it was like, I don't have much equipment at home, but I met my wife in art college and she has a couple of beautiful stone carvings at the back. So as a bored human being and someone who wanted to train, I was picking up her stone carvings, like round lumps of stone that she'd carved and weighed them at 60 kilos. And I fell in love with the feel of it. I thought, Jesus, there's something to this, you know? And then I saw that Rogue Fitness had made 3 documentaries, one in Iceland, one in Scotland, and one in the Basque region of Spain, talking about stone lifting and the history and culture involved. And that's when it really hit me. It's like, this isn't just picking up something heavy. There's a whole history attached to these stones. And I fell in love with the history of like that. You know, there were rites of passage, there were feats of strength, they were testing stones, they were lifted at funerals, they were lifted as, if you wanted to become a fisherman, you'd be able to pick up a certain stone to get on a boat. If you wanted to be like a farmhand, you had to be able to pick up a certain weight, this certain stone to see where you're strong enough. So all of these stones had their histories and stories. And like you, I'm really into history. So like that was like, that's incredible. And those stones are still there. So the one that really struck me was there's a stone in Scotland called the Fina stone. I mean, I as a Celtic man, I think every Celt or every Irish or Scottish person knows about the Fina and Fionn McCool.
Yeah.
And there's a Fina testing stone in Glenlyon in Scotland, and it's called the Fina stone. So you can go over to Scotland and pick up a stone that was a Fina testing stone as part of their test to become a Fina warrior.
Wow.
So I mean, if that doesn't put the hairs up on the back of your neck, you're not a Celt.
No.
So I mean, I went to Scotland and I lifted that stone. And it was one of the most amazing experiences of my life. I got to pick up a stone. You can say, to become a Fina warrior, someone picked that up and now I'm doing it. You know, that for me really started me down the road of, I need to find this in Ireland. There's a Fina stone. There's obviously a connection to Ireland. It's probably deeply hidden. But it turns out it wasn't that deeply hidden. I just had to scratch the surface of it.
Okay.
And when I just scratched the surface and started pulling at the thread, the whole thing just started to unravel, you know?
So this is a 2-pronged approach for you. It's the strength, it's the putting your arms around history and mythology, number 1. And number 2, it's trying to bring it back and to educate us on the wonderful art of stone lifting, yeah?
Exactly. It's a 2-part process. So, I mean, like, you become like, from someone who was just working in a normal job, you become a folklorist, an archaeologist, a storyteller, a shanachie, a genealogist, and you're trying to do all this in your spare time, you know, and you're doing all the PR. I mean, it's just, what I find amazing about it, Ger, is I've been doing this for 2 years and no one cared, you know. There was a couple of people who were like, no, that's kind of cool. But all of a sudden, the last 6 months, it started to build. And I think about 3 weeks ago, I kind of hit the culture tipping point where now people are really, really interested in this. It's like, this is a part of our culture that was gone, and now somebody's trying to bring it back. And now I'm appearing, like I said, on TV. I'm on big podcasts. I'm on the news channels. I'm appearing on TV again in another couple of weeks' time. It's hit that culture tipping point that I hoped it would. I never in my wildest dreams thought I'd be doing what I'm doing with it now. You know, it was just a really cool hobby that I enjoyed. But now, you know what I mean? So there's this whole wave of goodwill. It's incredible.
Fabulous. Are there many people in Ireland doing this?
No, it's only me. I mean, I'm the only person doing this, as in looking for them. But now what I'm finding is on the daily almost, I have somebody going to one of these stones because I've GPS mapped them. I put them all onto a couple of websites, and I've just brought up out a brand new map today of all the stones I've found. And people are now going to these sites. And like sometimes they're not going to lift them, they're just going to see them, or they're going to lay hands on them because they love the stories attached to them, you know. So on the daily, I'll people sending me photographs. Sometimes they might be lifting them, sometimes they might be just taking a pic with them. But it's great that it's back now, you know. It's actually back, you know. It's not just one guy doing it. Now the whole nation has embraced it. They took it to their hearts, and they're so proud that we have these ancient testing stones and that they're so heavy. You know, they're the heaviest in the world, and there's a whole pride attached to that here as well for us, you know, because we were beaten down so long. I suppose to have that strength back in it is a wonderful thing, and to be bringing it back is just a huge honour.
Is there a particular distance from the ground that you have to lift a particular stone or a stone, or is it, as you say, literally just getting the wind in under it, which, as you say, is a beautiful expression?
Some of them is just to get the wind under them. A lot of Irish ones are just to break the ground with them because they're so heavy. There's one called Tucknarkeen up in Connemara. That was just to break the ground with it, to set stone. There's about 8 to 10 stones that you just have to get the wind under. And I was talking to some of the old men, and they said there'd be men lying on the ground and they'd be looking. And there'd be one man lifting, and there'd be 3 or 4 men looking to see would it come up, you know, just a fraction. And a fraction was enough.
Yeah.
But then some of the stones, I mean, there's a beautiful one. There's down in Dripsey in County Cork, there's one that you have to be lifted to a plinth, a beautiful natural stone plinth. and there's a large round stone that you have to pick up and put it onto the plinth. As a valid lift. There's one over in the Aran Islands that you have to lift it onto a wall. There was a stonemason's test. So you have to pick that one up almost like a job interview and be able to put that on a wall. So then you can start your stonemasons training. Some of them have to be lifted to chest, and some of them have to be lifted to shoulder. It all depends on the area, you know. So each has their own specific test, and each has their own. There's actually one you have to walk it around the tree in County Kilkenny called the bulk. You have to walk it around the tree. There's an ancient tree in the middle of a roundabout, and you just have to walk that around the roundabout, see how many times you can do it. Every place has its own story and its own way of doing it, and it's so interesting, Ger. You know what I mean? It's not just you have to do one thing. Every place has its own way of doing it.
And people are contacting you, and they're telling you about a particular stone in a place. And do they obviously then have the story of this has to be lifted to the chest, or this has to be walked around the tree 3 times, or whatever the case might be? Is that how it works?
Do you know what I'm finding is every time you're going to a place, there's always someone who knows you.
Yeah, okay.
So, I mean, it's so Irish. You know, it's like you go to a place and there's somebody who will know absolutely everything about it, but no one else knows about it, you know? So, I mean, I've often gotten a few hints, or maybe I've looked it up on Dukas, you know, on the National Folklore Collection. And I'll go to a place and I'll go to, let's say, the Mart, or I'll go to a Creamy, or I'll go to a Cup, and I'll ask questions. And some people will be like, what the hell is he talking about? But there's always one person say, I don't know what about it, but what you do is you go down to Paddy down there, down the lane, and knock on the door and tell him I sent you, and ask about the stone, and he knows a lot about it. And then down you go, down to the house, knock on the door. My man might come out in his 90s, and he knows absolutely everything about it, and he knows who lifted it, and he knows how to lift it, and maybe he might have lifted it himself. And I've been saying it all along, magic is following me around. These stones want to be found. The land wants them to be found again. I've never not found one. You know what I mean? And I've gone to some places sometimes without any leads, just in hope that there's one there, because I heard a story from somebody. And look, you go, you ask questions, and there's always somebody who knows, you know. And now I've 32 found from just being nosy and asking people questions. But Irish people, we're innately curious people. We love telling stories, and we love a bit of madness. And this is both, you know what I mean?
It is, isn't it?
And there's always someone who knows. It's just incredible.
Let me ask you about beliefs, without getting too deep into investigating your beliefs. But has this changed how you might think or feel spiritually or religiously in any way?
Changed? No. I mean, I think I've always been a bit more pagan than anything else.
Right.
I've always loved the land. I've always loved the earth. And I've always loved... Where I felt more spiritually attuned would be up a mountain or in the sea. That's where I always felt closer to something higher, you know. Raised Roman Catholic, but fed out of love of sitting in stone boxes. I love being outside. So this was always kind of deeply in my bones, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then to have this, but like what this has changed with me, Ger, is it's changed my attitude to, it's made me so much... appreciative of being an Irish person. You know, it's got me in tune with the land, it's got me in tune with the people, the landscapes. I've travelled to counties I've never been to before. I've been out to all the islands off the west coast. I've met the locals and I've got the stories, and I'm just so damn proud to be Irish, you know, and I'm unashamed to say that I really am. And
Good.
I'm relearning the language now as well. It's got me back in tune with who I am as an Irish person, because we tend to lose that a little bit. We're becoming a little more homogenous with the way social media is and stuff like that. But this has really, being Irish is awesome.
You mentioned your wife, Breda.
Breda. Yeah, my wife, Breda Keown, yeah.
Yeah, Breda. You mentioned that she was into carving stones and things like that. Does she feel any sense of regret having encouraged you to go and lift a few stones out in the backyard?
Thankfully, I have a very supportive wife. I always have. We met when we were like kids, like we were 17, 18.
Yeah.
And I'm in my mid-40s now. So, I mean, like, we get on like house on fire. So, like, she just loves it. I mean, she can't believe also how far this has gone. Yeah. And I mean, like, I'm away in the weekends. I'm doing a lot of research. You know, it takes up a lot of my time. But, I mean, she's just been so supportive. She's been absolutely awesome. And now, the fact that I'm writing the book, she also has secretarial skills. So, I'm Mr. just kind of plot on the keyboard. So, I'm going to dictate it and she writes it. She's just been great.
Isn't it lovely to be able to dictate something in the house?
It doesn't happen that often.
I figured as much. I'm not going to keep you too long now because I know you've just got in from work. But let me ask you about training for this. Now, you're a fit man by all that we can see online, but I noticed that you don't appear to wear any safety harnesses or back braces or anything like that. So there's obviously a way to lift these rocks or these stones safely, or do you just go with your instinct?
Like everything, you have to build it up. I mean, I'm lucky enough, Ger, that I was training kettlebell sport, which gave me a very, very strong back and legs over the last 10 years. It's like swinging 2 kettlebells between your legs and then putting overhead as many times as you can in 10 minutes. It's crazy Russian endurance sport. But you're doing that with 232 kilo kettlebells. So I had a very, very strong posterior chain anyway, with the training for that, with deadlifting and squatting and all that goes with it. Stone lifting, though, is different. You know what I mean? It's different. Again, you're putting from a lower position. Thankfully, I've got very, very long arms so that I can get down into a nice deep squat and get my back nice and straight and lift with my legs. I mean, again, it's all legs, hips, a little bit of lower back, but mainly legs and hips and glutes, you know. So I've just been training that. And if anybody wants to train for stones, I say to them, just go out and start light. Get 40 kilo stone or from 40 to 70 kilos. And go out and try it. You know, go out and try it. Get a couple of lifts on that. Figure out your technique. What feels good. I mean, and everybody's biomechanics are different. But what feels good and what feels safe. And when you find out what feels safe for you, build that slowly. I mean, I build slowly. Like I said, the Irish testing stones are very, very heavy. The first time I went to find them, I couldn't lift most of them. I trained for 18 months specifically, and I've gone back and lifted them all now. But I've trained and built that up gradually. You're not going to be able to do it first time. Give yourself 12 months, 18 months of specific training, and then you can do it, you know. Right. But like anything, it's just do it safely and mindfully.
All right. I know that we can find you on Instagram by searching for Indiana Stones. Is there a website that people can go to? Or
no, it's mainly on Instagram, to be honest with you. If anyone wants to check out any of the other stuff, I mean, I've done a lot of podcast work. I've been on the Blind By podcast, the Art of Manliness podcast. GQ wrote an article there recently. Okay. So you can have a look at them. They're all very good. Pretty much everything is on Instagram. So if anyone wants to talk to me or give me a message, I'll be delighted. If anybody has any stories or even a stone that they know of, even better. So just give me a DM on Instagram and we can have another chat.
Fantastic. Listen, it's been lovely talking to you, David Keown. I really do appreciate you taking the time. I'm fascinated with it. I'll keep an eye on your Instagram and watch your progress, and I wish you well with it all. Thanks for talking to us.
Jared, thank you so much for having me on, man. I really appreciate it. It's long ago.
It's long ago, and thanks a lot.
I know it's a little old-fashioned, holding hands now start to romancing. Show me all your flaws, show me your bare claws. Go rip your heart out tonight. You don't have to be cool to make me shiver. Look in my eyes, can I make this any clearer? Just a late night girl calling through the phone. She never really loved you, so just leave her alone. Your mama says it's over when you come through the door, saying that's enough for you, now won't you shut your mouth? Hey, oh, I'll never let you go.
show me your bare claws. Go rip your heart out tonight. You were just a late night girl calling through a phone. She never really loved you, so just leave her alone. Your mama says it's over when you come through the door, saying that's enough for you. Now won't you shut your mouth? That's enough for you, kid. Now you go inside love. Hey, oh, I never let you go. Hey, oh, I never let you go. Hey, oh, I never let you go. Hey, oh, I never let you go.
That's The Academic, and a song that's called Bear Claws, or Bear Claws, and it's from the album called Tales from the Backseat. It's nice. I thought it'd be appropriate after we spoke with Indiana Stones. Yes, David Keown, thank you very much indeed. I hope you enjoyed that. It was a lovely interview, and you know, as I said, sometimes now that there is so much material there over the last 7 years or thereabouts, or 5 years, 6 years, whatever it is, you know, it's nice to repeat stuff that people may have missed, and I know they're available on podcasts and people can listen back for a week and all stuff like that, but sometimes it's just nice to hear this stuff again, and it kind of, I really enjoyed listening to that. So anyway, thanks to David again. The health insurance market is due for a huge shake-up with the launch this week of a new player backed by insurance giant Aviva. Level Health is expected to undercut its rivals with competitive new plans to be launched on Thursday. A move expected to pile on pressure for price cuts from the existing players. And in defiance of expectations, it will attempt to simplify health insurance, thanks be to God, by launching just 4 plans. Wow! There are already 350 plans in the market, and the fear was that the Level Health would introduce another slew of plans, complicating the health insurance market even more. Aviva has a 50% stake in the new operation and is understood to have pumped €14 million into the venture. The startup is expected to put huge pressure on VHI Healthcare, Leia Health and Irish Life Health. The new insurer is being run by industry veterans Oliver Tatton, a former head of VHI, and Jim Dowdle, who used to run Irish Life Health. The new venture comes after the 3 existing players in the market announced multiple price rises in the past year. The increases from VHI, Leia and Irish Life mean that some families are set to be hit with rises of up to €500 plus per year if they renew on the same plans. The cumulative rises this year are between 8% and 25%, depending on the plan. Health insurance experts said Level Health would inject much needed competition into the market. No detail on the pricing of the 4 Level Health plans is available as yet. In April, Aviva confirmed that it was investing into the new startup health insurance business in the Irish market. It said it was taking a 50% share in a new private health insurance business established by a group of senior executives with significant experience in both setting up and running health insurance businesses in Ireland. Aviva has been in the health insurance market in this country previously, but sold out when Irish Life eventually picking up that business. However, interest in the health insurance market in Ireland perked up when French insurance giant AXA agreed last year to buy Leia Healthcare for €650 million, considered a huge price. Leia is the state's second largest health insurer. It has a 28% share in the Irish health insurance market, serving 690,000 members. Experts speculated that Aviva, which has previously offered health insurance in Ireland, wants to ensure its entire offering in Ireland now matches that of AXA. It has a large health insurance business in the UK. It'll be interesting because having both the people that are running this, one from VHI and one from Leia, wasn't it? Or was it Irish Life? Irish Life, wasn't it? They would have known like that there was 350 plans. They must know the people are confused.com. They must know that it's a pain in the you-know-what to switch. So I'm hoping that they may have learned from what people may have been telling them, and that they will address that. But the very fact that they're only putting 4 plans in place is certainly worth looking at. Mine is up at the end of the year, so I certainly will be taking a look at that and see if there's a couple above, because you're a hostage. And particularly at my age, there's no chance, because you kind of say, well, you can't, for like there's 1 or 2 pre-existing conditions, nothing major, but like you can't do anything with those for 6 or 8 months or whatever it is. And so this is the time of your life when you need it. Like, anyway, an inspection of the Cliffs of Moher walking trail found that some visitors were ill-equipped for conditions. People are ignoring warning signs, and a humanist wedding took place with participants standing close to the cliff with their backs to the edge. Can I remind you that the Cliffs of Moher are 650 feet tall? Yeah. The review was undertaken by Sport Ireland in mid-August after 2 young people died after they fell from the cliffs in County Clare in July. The inspection report said that many walkers were ignoring warning signs, climbing over flagstone barriers and going straight towards the cliff edge. The report said, in summary, it was observed that walkers were unprepared for this grade of walk, and warning signs were unheeded. The volume of walkers was too high for some sections of the trail, and unofficial events were being held close to the cliff edge. The report said that the facilitation of events, facilitation of events such as wedding ceremonies near the cliff edge gives the impression that these are officially sanctioned events, and this in turn leads people to believe that it was safe and acceptable to go off the official trail and towards the cliff edge. Good point. The review also found that there are parts of the trail where it was not obvious which was the official or unofficial route, and people could easily stray onto the wrong one. It added, in some locations, the official trail was now too narrow to cater for the volume of walkers travelling in both directions, making the unofficial path, which is often wider and more attractive. Anyway, the inspection highlighted several locations where people were most likely to stray off course, sometimes deliberately and while engaging in risky behaviour. It said that the trail was unsuitable for the type of people it was attracting, and that the inspector saw multiple examples of dangerous or risky behaviour. The inspector's view was that the trail be closed immediately to make it safe, according to a copy of the report that was released under the Freedom of Information laws. The report added that Ger should turn his phone off. The inspector's view was that the trail be closed immediately. That's fine. The report added, Sport Ireland Outdoors acknowledged the severity of the safety issue identified and note the comment of the inspector above. However, it said the large volume of visitors and the high quality of some sections made it possible for operators to keep some of the trail open. A detailed analysis also highlighted safety signs that were easy to walk past without noticing, and specific areas where people were most likely to go towards the edge. It said one sign requests that walkers stay on the official path, but it does not contain a warning about the danger and cliff edge straight ahead. In another area, the trail was waterlogged just beyond a pinch point, where visitors found it hard to get past each other. This is resulting in walkers skirting around the puddle, bringing them dangerously close to the cliff edge, the report said. Another section highlighted a narrow section unsuitable for high numbers of visitors, bringing them close to exposed barbed wire fencing. The inspector also noted one point where a well-used unofficial path is leading to a cliff edge and no warning signs present. Notes on another location near Nag's Head said this is an extremely dangerous point on the trail where an unofficial path leads to a point right on the cliff edge, not visible to walkers approaching from the south. Asked about the report, Sport Ireland said several safety issues had been identified and some sections of the trail kept open while others were closed for renovations. It said all issues on the trail that remained open had been successfully addressed and that other sections would remain closed until any unresolved safety issues were dealt with. It's unfortunate because some of the places, I've been to the cliffs so many times because it's literally, it's 45 minutes from where I'm sitting right now. And I've been there for many reasons, for work reasons and for pleasure reasons over the years. And there are some spectacular views. It's absolutely stunning. But I'll tell you, I'm afraid of heights. I have a fear of heights. And I don't go too close to too many edges up there. I really don't. It's just not worth doing. Right, I can let you go now, as the fella said when he had his friend hanging over the cliff some more. That's the name of a new song from Mary Coughlin, and I'm going to play it for you right now. It's nice and laid back. Lads, the time is just flying tonight, isn't it? Take a listen to this. I hope you enjoy it.
It was so right, it was so wrong, almost at the same time. The pain and ache a heart can take, no one really knows. When the memories cling and keep you there till you no longer care, and you can let go now. It's wrong for me to cling to you. Somehow I just needed time from what was to be. It's not like me to hold somebody down, but I was tossed high by love. I almost never came down, only to land here where love's no longer found. When I'm no longer bound, and I can let go now. And I can let go now.
Do you like that? Thought you might. That is I Can Let Go Now. That comes from Mary Coughlin. I don't know, have I ever played a track that people said they didn't like when they played Mary Coughlin? And there you go. Nice one. Is that the one I'm going to play? It is actually, I'd say. Is it? I'm going to have a listen to this and see. Is that the one? I had a dream. Yeah, we'll play that one. Yeah, all right, we'll play that. But not just yet, no. We have a couple of other bits and pieces to tell you. Maybe I'll play something else. I'm trying to decide there while I was listening to Mary. But it was such a nice song. I just kind of got into it, you know. The construction of a multi-million euro further education and training campus in West Limerick has moved a step closer with the announcement on Monday that the project is to go to the design and planning stage of development. That'll get him a few votes. Who do you think is sceptical? Not at all. Minister for Further and Higher Education, Research, Innovation and Science, Patrick O'Donovan, made the announcement at the Newcastle West FET campus. Minister O'Donovan said that the capital investment will be a significant one, not just for students and staff locally, but for the wider community of Limerick and Clare Education and Training Board. The approval allows the Limerick and Clare Education Training Board to go to the pre-tender stage of development, including project design, planning and procurement for a state-of-the-art further education facility at Station Road. The new infrastructure will allow for a centralised facility supporting learners and Irish industries in the large population centre outside of Limerick City's metropolitan area. How's about that? That's good news, isn't it? Yes. Students at Trinity College in Dublin have criticised what they say is the university's inaction in upholding Irish language rights. The Trinity College Students' Union has hung a banner across scaffolding surrounding the college's landmark Campanile Tower, asking Caldwell on Gaeilge. Right? Caldwell on Gaeilge. How's the Irish? Or where's the Irish? No, Caldwell would be Caldwell too. How are you? Yes. So the Caldwell and Gaeilge is how is the Irish? In a statement, the Students' Union said it wanted to send a message that access to Gaeilge must be a top priority for the university. The Students' Union has also written to Trinity College's provost about the issue. It says Trinity College is not complying with actions required of public bodies, including that all signage be in Irish, that all stationery include a version of the college's logo where the two languages are equal, that all oral announcements be in Irish, that 20% of Trinity College's public advertisements be in Irish, and that 5% of advertising spending will be spent on Irish language media. The Student Union said the deadline for many of these actions was 2013. Wow. The union has asked college on a multitude of occasions to provide more funding to the Irish Language Office of College, which, despite its best effort, is understaffed and under-resourced and only one full-time employee working in a corner of the Secretary's office, the Student Union said. The equivalent office in UCD is a full office with 4 full-time employees to ensure the fulfilment of the legislation, while providing a platform for the language to grow within the university, it added. It said students at the college recently voted in favour of equal status for the Irish language in student life and a full-time student union officer for its promotion in an unprecedented 95% referendum win. Wow. This isn't just about signage, it's about the entire legitimacy of the language, Pádraig Mulgrady said in Irish language, who's the Irish language officer at the Students' Union said. In fact, that the Irish language is treated as an afterthought in higher level education. It's the language that I live as much of my life as I can through, but there is a hostility across public bodies, including Trinity. The Student Union said it is now demanding that Trinity College take immediate action. Trinity College, in a statement, said that it thanks and commends the Students' Union for its advocacy for the Irish language. This, they said, is already the subject of ongoing engagement. Yeah. Sure it is. Sure it is. Sure it is. Right. Let's play that song, shall we? It's called Afterlife. It was a single earlier in the year.
I had a dream it was the end of the world, and your voice was the last thing I ever heard. You whispered in my ear that it's alright. You said I'll meet you in the next life. Close your eyes as the stars came falling down and tidal waves took out the town. I had a dream it was the end of the world, the end of the world. The last one out of the circus took his final bow. The curtain closed as the band played out. Our songs on repeat as the sky fell down. That was just a dream that I had one time. If everything just happened to end tonight, I'll save us a seat in the afterlife. I had a dream last night that we had never met, and honestly it scared me half to death. And as the world, it was coming to a close, It took me to the roof to watch it as it goes. City walls came burning down. We danced with the ashes all around. I better go and kiss my mother for the final time. My father's eyes are just as scared as mine. At least we'll meet each other in the waiting line. That was just a dream that I had one time. If everything just happened to end tonight, I'll save us a seat in the afterlife. Heavens opened up as the world went down. I've never loved you more than I do now. I promise that I'll hold you as the lights go out. Darling, there's no need to cry. It's only a dream that I had last night. If everything just happened to end tonight, will save us a seat in the afterlife.
That's Gavin James in a song called Afterlife. That is it. Done and dusted for another week. Thank you to Patricia, the start of a new series, Irish People That Are First to Do Things, or the first Irish people to do certain things. Today she was talking about Annie Moore. I'll be going to see Annie's statue the day after tomorrow. I've been there about 4 times in the last 2 months, but I'll be going to Cove again, and I'm looking forward to my trip there the day after tomorrow. And David Keown, thanks a million again. As always, thank you to Antonio Sierra, our Spanish-Irish cultural advisor on the programme. Next week and the week after, we're going to do a couple of look-backs, but we'll have new stories from Patricia as well. And then we're going to do a big story on the 27th about the election, because we'll be less than 48 hours away. Until I see you next week, from me, Ger Sweeney, thank you for listening. Bye-bye, and mind yourselves.
Ger Sweeney presents Live on Eire in association with emeraldconnection.net.
You've been listening to a TRE production. If you've enjoyed this programme, there'll be another episode waiting for you next week, right here on this platform, where you can also access our extensive back catalogue of shows and interviews. For more information on our live programming, social media channels and apps, and how to contact Talk Radio Europe, please visit TRE.radio.